Welcome to tonight's episode of Myths and Stories. We don't have a guest announcer this evening, but we are going to be discussing the Vow of the Disciple raid tonight. We were lucky enough to have a wonderful group to attempt the day one. Unfortunately, day one turned into day three for us, but we did get it done. We did get it done. Really, really fun experience. Loved everything about this raid, honestly. So we're gonna talk about it. We're gonna give kind of our general impressions as players, and then we're gonna get into some of the lore behind the raid armor and like who some of the characters are in the raid and why they're important to the universe. And they are important to the universe.
Dude, this shit gets real tonight. I have been reading all these lore tabs all afternoon, and they have they genuinely frighten me. Like reading them is like unsettling. Like looking at the raid armor is unsettling to look at, and I think that's intended. And holy crap, it is creepy, and I love it, and it's awesome. So raid day, obviously launch day was a little rough. All the little anteaters running around eating all the servers. Apparently they didn't eat the ants out of the servers; they were just eating the servers.
We totally did not get anteatered for like 4 hours on our attack,
right.
So.
I was raiding in the middle of a tornado storm and hailstorm. Lost power about maybe an hour and a half into the raid, and then remembers that my truck has internet hooked up to it. So I was literally raiding from the back seat of my truck. No one can say I'm not dedicated.
Nope.
Yeah. So grabbed a little 26-inch TV, my PS5, little inverter, hooked it all up, and that lasted for all of 15 minutes before the inverter was like, whoa. You want to draw how much power? And it was like, nah, I'm good. And so then I had to listen until power came back. So yeah, no, raid day was a little bit chaotic. It was nice of them to extend it out by an extra day. And then of course we kept pushing through. We were determined not to let the caretaker Atrax us. Screw you, second encounter. And we did it. We made it past Atrax. Or caretaker. I'm gonna call it Atrax now. That is our final raid boss. It was freaking awesome, but holy shit, does it bring up some questions. God, did we get our predictions wrong?
Well, I don't know how anyone could have gotten predictions right.
There's no way, dude. Crap. This shit hit out of left field. So prediction number one.
In a good way.
Prediction number one was Callus was final boss imbued with darkness.
He was not.
He's not even present. He's not even there. Like there's no Cabal in there. There's nothing in there. Callus or Cabal related. There are Scorn.
That was correct.
And there is a mission after that got unlocked after the raid was completed. That actually talk the enemies in there. There's 3 named enemies named the Fanatics Chosen. So we're kind of on a path here. Let's rewind a bit and we'll start with impressions of the raid. Myth?
Yeah. So I want to kind of just not go by blow. We're not going to strategize. This is not a guide for how to do the raid, but I want to talk about kind of the general theming of the encounters and some of the architecture we came across and just some of the mechanics we had to do that have like story implications.
Yeah. So the first area is that bog. What is the bog?
So the bog is still part of the throne world. This is all happening still in Savathun's throne world. And we'll explain why it's happening in Savathun's throne world as we get through some of the actual lore cards. But there's this pyramid ship in Savathun's throne world that she has, as we learned prior to the raid, she has sealed it away. She has locked whatever was in there up in the pyramid because she doesn't want it getting out. She is scared of it to some degree.
I'm scared of it.
I mean, yeah. Certainly kicked our ass. Literally in some cases.
Yeah. Couple of knees to the nuts didn't feel so good.
But so we start off in the bog, which is kind of the same kind of area as the quagmire or the miasma within the throne world,
swampy,
just an
boggy
extension off
feel.
of it. And you are bringing this like darkness artifact. It's protect the payload from Overwatch is what it is.
Yep.
And you're bringing it to the pyramid.
I was going to say this payload is a little bit important to the pyramid, right? Like what is the payload that we're like? What was that thing that we were protecting?
That is a very good question. I mean, as far as its function, it seems to be a key because when you escort it to the door, it slots into this spot and then allows us to access the pyramid.
Which is just a super cool thing when you watch. Like if you're sitting there riding it all the way to the end, and it like there's just this darkness thing, and it just, and you're just like, oh god, what just happened? And then you come out from that, and then like all the pyramid is doing that like shifting, like like all transformer like. Yeah, no, it's fucking amazing.
It's pretty cool. It does bring up the question of how are we powering it, because the things you're picking up during the encounter are called like knowledge, and it stacks and it gives you different white text. So I think it starts with like unknown knowledge,
that's what it was. Then brimming, and then
overwhelming, overflowing, I think. But so you're collecting knowledge, quote unquote, and like feeding it into this darkness artifact to propel it and then eventually open the pyramid,
which does kind of play into like the whole darkness thing, right? Like the whole thing that we talked about with darkness before is the memory, right? Like darkness is tied to memories, and that we see that theme through the entire raid. But we're like already from the get-go, we are dealing with knowledge, with memories, with intel essentially, to get this thing moving and get this thing working. And then the structures that we're passing along the way, because like this whole time they're scoring everywhere, which is kind of to be expected. Like they're very darkness related. And then there's all these structures. What are these structures that we're passing?
So the structures that we're going past, honestly, very much resemble ancient Earth culture structures, like Incan and Mayan. And I know nothing about these cultures. So if I get if I mix something up here, I don't mean to.
Please don't kill us.
But when I think of like the South American kind of like ancient cultures, I think Incan, Mayan, and kind of Aztec are the main three that are referenced the most.
Very that staged pyramid looking thing. And now this time I can call them pyramids because they have 5 sides. And for the love of God, please stop referring to darkness ships as pyramids, even though they do it in the damn game. They are 4-sided. They are Okay, I'm over. Rant's over.
Yeah.
They're pyramids.
Put the engineer back in the bag.
Fucking pyramids. I don't know why it bugs the crap out of me, but every time they refer to one of the darkness ships as a pyramid, it's like do you not expect us to know what a tetrahedron is? Like, I get it, that's fine, whatever. Grumpy me is grumpy.
Yeah. So we enter the ship, the tetrahedron ship.
Thank you.
And we are greeted by a very stark aesthetic, and it's similar-ish to what we have seen in other I'm gonna call it pyramids from this point forward. Pyramid ships.
Yeah, it's fine. I can live with it.
Just so people know what I'm talking about.
It's fine. I'm over it now.
It's similar to other architecture we've seen in other like darkness ships and darkness areas, especially the communion mission from this season, where you enter the ship on Europa again.
Yep. With all the cabal there that are trying to like kill the thing inside.
Yeah. It's got a little bit of its own flair though. It's not exactly the same as the architecture you see elsewhere. Darkness architecture seems to be very like based on geometric pattern.
Yeah, very much so.
And you definitely see a lot of that, but like I said, it's with that like old ancient Southern American ruin kind of vibe to it.
Absolutely.
Uh,
Very
and
sharp angles, very very exact
mhm.
lines, very nothing has any type of like what would you call
There's
that?
no archways, there's no
Yeah.
slopes or rounded
Very
corners or
yeah.
anything.
Very very straight lines everywhere. Yeah, no, that's definitely a common thing there.
And what we see as we progress through is a lot of iconography all over the place. I hesitate to call them hieroglyphics, but that's really the vibe I got when we were first walking
Yeah.
through there.
No, absolutely.
Is it looks like, you know, like paintings from a long lost culture.
Yeah. That
Referencing
we're looking at them, we're like, what the freak does this even like what is
mhm,
going on here?
a lot of color, surprisingly, in those
Yeah.
paintings, which was kind of
Yeah.
cool. A
A very
lot of
contrasting thing,
references.
right? Like, cause like
Yeah.
the walls and everything are very dark, very black, very slate, very like it's like white, black, and gray. And then you come across these like hieroglyph looking things that are colorful, they have greens and reds and blues in them, and that's the only color in the entire place. And it's like I said, to me it felt like a little off putting, like it's like freaky, right? Like
Yeah.
it's unsettling.
To to see that, it makes it feel like this isn't just a um this isn't just a home of a video game big bad and they had to, make a scary place for them to live. It feels
Yeah.
like somebody actually lives here and,
Yeah.
does things with this space in some fashion. Um and as we progress through, we can tell a lot of these like hieroglyphics and symbology are referencing either the darkness or the light or the pyramids or the traveler or typically one of our past accomplishments.
Yep.
So there's the symbol for the forsaken slash the scorn. There's the symbol for the witch queen Savathun. There's the black heart of the garden. There's the
Yep.
black garden kind
Yeah.
of
Like
plateau
that plateau
mountain.
looking thing. Yeah. No, absolutely.
Yeah.
There's us being
Uh,
risen as a guardian, like that's
yep.
a little ghost over
Yep.
our head. Yeah, no. Yeah.
So lots of like not only iconography around light and dark, but also around us specifically as the player. Which is also kind of unsettling because it poses the question of like
Have
who's
they been
been
watching us?
watching us
Yeah.
to know all of this.
That's that's freaky.
Yeah. So you after you progress through the first encounter, you go deeper into the ship, and this
Well,
is kind
there's
of where it started to be a
well
realization for me.
well before we dive into that,
Hmm.
inside the first encounter room, there's a very important thing in there.
Yes, there is. And actually, I think prior to that, even as you're progressing through, you see a bunch of kind of encased in amber or encased in glass of some sort, like the the scientifically like bisected sections of hive worms.
Yeah. And what some of them are
Um,
huge. Some
yeah,
like
some
you
of them
walk
are.
into them
Yeah,
and they
like you
are
use them as a doorway.
yeah. That first off was kind of like freaky to me to think like, oh my god. And then there's one that I think is right before that like wish wall type area that's obviously it's sectioned out and everything, and then of course you can walk underneath it. Size
Mm-hmm.
wise, it looks about the size of whatever that thing in on underneath in the waters of Titan was.
Not impossible. I'm not gonna go off on the tangent of Titan just because we have a lot to go over here, but
No,
this
absolutely.
definitely
It
tells
just
us that
size wise, it was huge.
yeah, yeah, seeing some of the examples on display in here make you realize like how much variety there is in
Yeah,
the worm sizes and types and the yeah like it could totally have been one of these on
yeah,
Titan. Uh but this is going through and seeing at first when we went through and saw these like these again it's like when they have the bodies that are cut into it's morbid, but the bodies at museums that have been cut into like panels
Yeah, into like
to
cross
give you.
sections. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah,
That's exactly
that's
what it
exactly
looked
what
like.
it was.
I mean, that's and
Uh,
there's just like little. It's like they've been cut into cross sections and then just like separated out to where you can kind of see them layer by
mhm.
layer, as almost like when you're looking at what are the MRI scans, right? Like you're
Yeah,
seeing the
yep,
body layer by layer, and that's what it looks like in there. Like you're seeing these worms layer by layer cut into sections. It's super. It like from the science side, it's like, oh man, this is really cool. But then like from like the perspective side, like the psyche side of the humans, like, oh my god, this is freaky as hell. What the hell?
yeah. And so progressing through that section, I was kind of like, what are we getting ourselves into? Like, is this some mad scientist kind of stuff they've got going on here?
Going off our
Um,
original theory, I was like, oh my god, did they plant a worm in Callus? Like
yeah, that
that's
that was going
literally
through
what
my
I was
head as
thinking of,
well.
and
I was
I
like,
was like,
oh,
this is
if
freaky.
Callus is the big bad, like, did they? Because we knew that the pyramid ships grew worms. Like
Yeah,
we knew that from the communion mission,
that is very very
or
much
from
what.
the witch and the worm mission.
Yep, they were literally designed to they were yeah worm factories. That's what they exist as.
Well, some of them.
Oh,
Some of them are worm factories. Uh,
ooh,
but so, but when I saw that, I'm like, okay, we know that they produce worms in some of these pyramid ships, and yeah, I was still kind of operating under like, if Callus is the big bad in here, like, yeah, did they? Does he have a worm in him? Have they hivified Callus or something?
that would be cool.
It would have been. I
But
think
it's
what
so
might
much
happen is cooler
worse.
though.
I was just to say it's so much worse than that. Like as far as like terms of like, oh my god, this is a big bad baddie. No, this is even badder than that. Like it's
Yeah.
yeah,
So
it's
so we progress past the science experiment and we get into the room of the first encounter, and there's a very large bone. And when I say large, I mean like it spans, how to even describe.
well, so our 6-man
Think
fire team can stand up on it like
and take
six
up maybe
times
half of
over.
it.
Yeah, like we could easily like if we stood shoulder to shoulder on it, it would you could easily fit, you know, 3 or 4 6-man fire teams up there.
Yeah, it is huge.
Huge.
And it has a lot of significance that we are going to talk about when we get into the armor cards.
I
But
was
just
fixing to say, are
remember
we
this
saying exactly what it
giant
is right
bone.
now, or are we just doing
No, we're
impressions?
not. We're just waiting for now.
Okay.
Because I wanna save that impact for when we get to that.
Yeah.
Point.
Savor it, suckers.
So we have this huge bone, and then out in the backdrop
Which is
behind
gorgeous, by
this
the way.
arena, which is a beautiful skybox.
Fucking gorgeous.
You see the coiled body of a maybe living, maybe dead hive worm god that seems to be kind of stuck
Yeah.
and there's this big like almost trapezoid-esque looking platform
All right,
that's
you're gonna go
sitting
make me
above
look
it.
up the term, because if we're gonna get
Yeah, I
scientific and
don't know
mathematical in here, okay, so it has 1, 2,
it's
3,
definitely
4, 5, 6. It does have 6 sides, so it's technically a cube, but
oh,
it's
I
not.
don't know
It's not
about that.
exactly a cube. It because the sides kind of like angle inwards, so that's where it's like trapezoid, right? So
Yeah.
maybe a rhombus.
You know what we mean. You know what we mean.
I just like the term rhombus.
But there's this giant, pillar type object sitting above this worm, seemingly like either siphoning energy out of the worm or siphoning energy into the worm or doing something, and the worm seems to be stuck there. And when I say like worm god, I don't mean Zol size. I don't mean
Oh,
Will of 1,000 size. I mean
this
like
thing is
take that
huge.
times 50.
Like we like as soon as Myth and I saw it, like we both were kind of under the same impression. Like this was oh what's the one? What's the first one? That's
we
the
thought
Three
it
Sisters
was
thing?
we thought it was Yol, I believe.
Yes.
The one that actually speaks directly to the sisters when they first meet the worms.
Yep.
And kind of barters the deal with who becomes Oryx, Shivurath, and Savathun.
Yep.
So we were like, oh, we had kind of theorized that was, by how they described that worm, that like it was could produce other worms. We're like, oh, that's the mother worm. That's the big one. That's the
mommy
one in charge.
When a mommy worm loves a daddy worm, they come out with little baby worms. That's not how this works.
So our initial thought was, oh, so that's I think it was Yol.
Yep.
The honest worm. We were wrong, but not that far off, honestly. With kind of our thinking behind that, but
wrong name, right category.
Yeah, kind of, sort of. And a much sadder story.
I know.
But so you see this worm. This worm is constantly in the background. You progress through the first area. You get to the second area, and as you progress through the second area, even the names of the locations in the raid are like acquisition, collection, inspect. I think one was inspection or something like that. I
think so.
Very much making it apparent that like not only is this a kind of science experiment type of zone, but it's also kind of a museum. And there's relics of our previous fights and other civilizations, and it's a gallery, essentially.
Absolutely.
It's a gallery of conquests.
Tons of those those cut statues that you see now associated with darkness. A bunch of that just stuff encased in amber or behind glass or something. Like there's like little, almost like little dioramas of cities behind glass. Like it's very much like I very much had this museum vibe going about it. And so then like as soon as I started having that museum vibe, like my entire thoughts were changing about this. Like I was like, is this Callus's like collection room? Like is this what Callus has conquered over the years? Like I'm still very much under this impression of, Callus is the final raid boss. Like that's it, and this is like his collection, and now he's imbued with a worm, and oh, how wrong we were.
We had in the first encounter, I think as early as the first encounter, we had Rook talk to us. Like there was dialogue from him for I think every encounter.
Yep. Didn't even acknowledge who the hell that was.
Well, right, because I didn't recognize the name, so part of me was like, okay, maybe that's gonna be a bit of a red herring. Like he's gonna be the one that talks at us throughout the raid, but he's like the second to last boss kind of thing, or something like that. And I had no reference for who he was or anything entering the raid. So I didn't have much reason to pay too close of attention to him at the time. So we come to the second encounter. The second encounter is the caretaker, which was the brick wall for our team, unfortunately.
Oh my god!
For the first day.
That sucker. This is the first time. Well, I guess Atrax was kind of like a DPS check, but Atrax was also very mechanically heavy.
Yeah.
But this one was a hard, like an actual DPS check. Like when you start damage phases on him, the bar, like a section of the bar turns white, basically telling you must make it through this section of the bar, or you are not going to be able to beat him. And it was a very it was a very new experience for the typical Destiny player that sees this game as like a looter shooter, to be like, oh, we're just gonna pew 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 until he's dead. And this was like no, you really need to pew 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 pew, or you are not going to get past it. And man, it was rough. Ammo economy in there was a little rough. Like it was. I had this idea of like, okay, maybe the teams were supposed to switch off, right? Because like you've got one team dealing with Edge, you got one team dealing with reading stuff, you got one team babysitting the boss. And in my head, I'm like, well, there's 3 layers, 3 sets of groups. Maybe we're supposed to rotate through this. That way, each group could get more ammo as we're going through. I don't know.
That might have helped. I don't know how much,
rough.
But
I know that's
helped.
Rough. That's rough to try to learn every mechanic of a fight within a fight on day 1.
All that being said, though, we did still beat him with contest active.
We did. We did it.
We still that was a good accomplishment for us after we got hard stopped on the first day.
we were pretty stoked to be able to beat him in contest mode, and then we figured out the
Yeah.
jumping puzzle afterward.
Yeah, we figured
without
out
any
the
help,
jumping puzzle on our own. That was
and
pretty
how
proud
to
of
do
us
the
there.
third encounter on our
And
own
how to
without
do the
any
third.
help.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we felt pretty stoked about all those. But yeah, the caretaker. Who is? What is? How is? Where is?
Yeah. So,
Caretaker, go.
This is stated in the.
Everyone asks who is caretaker. Nobody asks how is caretaker.
So this is stated in the evidence board mission that you can do after the raid was completed for the first time. And it is called Evidence Board Report Pyramid-Inspect.
Ooh.
And we get this dialogue from Ikora. It says, in your explorations of the pyramid, you've learned that the Scorn were attempting to increase their power by using resonant runes stolen from the Lucent Brood in combination with worm larvae. Based on the reports from those who first entered to defeat Rook, it seems these ritualistic experiments were a holdover from the plans of the disciple himself. So they're saying Rook, the disciple, had this plan to use these runes from the hive along with worm larvae to power up the Scorn. And even after his defeat, the Scorn were continuing to carry that plan out. It continues. One hidden agent goes so far as to speculate that the Scorn caretaker was itself the result of a successful Scorn worm fusion.
Holy shit.
Whatever the Scorn know of Imaru's plans, it's enough to motivate them to enhance their power further in order to counter his moves. So this is a little outside the raid.
Mindless though, right? Like that's what's blowing my mind right now. I always think of the Scorn as like this mindless fodder. But this is showing a level of intelligence among them.
A little bit of yes, a little bit of no. So I think it could be argued either way at this point, because you could say, well, the Scorn are just following the last order they received.
Oh, okay.
Even if the person that gave the order isn't here anymore, they're still doing it.
That's the last thing they received, so that's what they're going to keep doing. Yeah, no, I gotcha.
We do have that one mission that I'm blanking on the name of it or the context around it, but where we encounter like a Scorn fight club. And Mara, I think it's Mara, comments about like the Scorn seem to be developing a culture that is very sword logic aligned.
Ooh.
Like they're hosting a fight club where they're fighting each other to figure out who's the toughest Scorn in the group.
Absolutely.
So they might be starting to form their own ideas, but those ideas seem to be stemming from what they've already been doing in service to the witness in the dark.
Essentially, like whatever last command was given to them, like it's almost like a this is all I've known, so this is all I can do type thing. Like because I don't have any type of reference for anything else outside of this last command given, that's the command I need to follow. Now all basic instincts and everything now forms around that command and becomes its own culture because of that command. That's hopefully that kind of
so if what we were to take here is to be believed, though, so without spoiling too much too early, we will definitely go into it later in this episode. Rook had a very vested interest in the hive worms, and it would make sense considering that his ships, his pyramid ships that he controlled, the ones in Savathun's throne world. Well, let me back up. I guess there's only one pyramid ship in her throne world, but there's still a lot of darkness architecture outside of the ship.
Sure.
And that is where
that Aztec style
the worm,
ruins, right? Yeah,
and that's where the worm kind of like incubators are located.
Yeah.
Presumably, all of that was built by Rolk.
Sure.
So that he has a very vested interest in these hive worms and it would make sense that he would then try to use them and experiment on them and figure out how to put a hive worm in a scorn to make a scorn, to give a scorn paracausal powers, essentially.
So I guess that's the real question here. What is the deal with the hive worms? What are they? And are the hive worm? What makes a hive a hive? What is the deal with the worms as far as giving powers or taking powers or whatever?
So
What the hell?
we're jumping ahead just a bit, but keep those in
Well,
mind. Keep
too
those
bad. We're going to keep these questions front and center. So caretaker is basically a successful experiment.
A successful experiment where a scorn has a hive worm in them. It has a hive symbiote.
Hot.
Yeah.
You thought you were free from that this episode. You fool.
So you fight off the caretaker, who's a bitch of a fight. But
it's fun though.
It was fun. Amazing. It's a good fight, and I'm ready to go back to that fight now the contest is over. And just own his ass.
Accidentally one-faced it, because we're gonna go in with this super hardcore, like we gotta have and tether
3 wells,
and
3 tethers,
go. And then like we get through like the
galley,
first phase, and he's like already at last stand, and it just skips the next 2 rooms, and we have to run clear to the top while he's doing final stand. And we're just like, oh shit, maybe slow down on DPS a little.
I would laugh if that's possible, though.
I hope it is. I hope we screw it up that bad. That would be awesome.
So anyway, you fight the caretaker. You get to the third encounter, which isn't really a boss or particularly lore. Lore heavy. Again, it's just reinforcing the idea of
it's kind of lore heavy.
Okay, so the relics you use, or the artifacts, I should say, you use for that encounter are artifacts from our past.
Specifically our past, specifically Destiny past, and even well, I guess Vault of Glass is D1, but yeah, specifically from the Guardians past, things we have used to fight back enemies of humanity.
Yeah. So there ends up being 3 different artifacts that your team has to use as part of this encounter. One of them is the Aegis from Vault of Glass, the shield. One of them is very similar to the seed that would shoot a laser in the Leviathan raid. And the other one is very similar to the Eye of Riven, where you kind of had that taken effect, and you had to use it to cleanse things.
Super cool.
Very cool mechanic.
Very, very much reinforcing that memory thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, remember your previous, your previous victories. Those tools are now going to be what you use in this encounter. I don't, and this is something that came to me afterwards. I don't know if they're the exact same, though. I think they're just replicas, or as close of a replica as can be made.
I don't think they're the actual things, because like if we were to give like an in-game reason of why they shouldn't, or why they aren't necessarily the exact same, the seed looks more of like a crux, like a shard of darkness, right? The Aegis doesn't have the ability to block shots, right? Like all it does is cleanse, so it's not fully functional type thing. That's what makes me think of them as replicas of our past.
No, and I think that's accurate. But you get through that encounter, and there's another kind of jumping section where you're kind of scaling the walls of the inside of the pyramid ship, heading towards that floating monument that is still sitting above the worm god in the middle of the pyramid. And when you get there, when you get to that floating monument, you are greeted by the final boss of the raid, who is this Rulk character.
R-H-U-L-K.
R-H-U-L-K, yep. As much as my phone wants to autocorrect that to Hulk, it is not.
That's that's yes. Yes.
Writing
That
my notes for this tonight was
was a
extremely difficult because
pain
of
in the
that.
ass. Do
um,
you mean to say Hulk? No, no, I get it. Marvel Universe owns everything. Thanks, Disney.
yeah,
Thanks, Marvel. You're the best. This is something new.
yeah, this is something different. Add it to my dictionary, please.
Yes.
So I'm not gonna go over the fight with him as far as like the mechanics of it.
But he is
Uh,
freaky looking.
he is freaky.
Like,
He is unlike anything we have seen in Destiny until now.
and by this point in the time in the raid, like I've forgotten everything about Callus, and I'm just
Oh
like,
yeah,
I have
oh
no
yeah.
fucking clue what's happening here. This is left field shit. Like I don't even know what to think. I don't know where to go with this info. Like by this time I am genuinely confused and like, what the hell is happening?
Yeah, I get to the end. I'm expecting a Cabal Emperor. I've got this Slender Man looking fucker. What is going on?
He was freaky, man. But like that freaky that like makes you want to go touch him. Like, ooh, what if he's like, what if he grants me powers or something? Like, I don't want to look at him. I can't look directly at him. But God, I keep looking at him, and then I get freaked out by him. And he's got this glaive that he runs around with. Like, oh my God. Ah.
He is the design for Rook is so good.
Fucking amazing.
Everything about the actual like damage phase with him and getting him to the damage phase, and like you feel like you're kind of dueling this big bad that you are not going to win against unless you know make all these stars align and
pull
open up
some
an
fucking
opportunity
rabbit
for
out of your
yourself.
butt. Yeah, no, it's
Like
yeah.
he feels like a big bad, and it's
Yeah.
great. He just walks on air.
Yeah. Oh my God, there's so many times where he accidentally like walks off the edge of the platform and he's just floating there. He's just floating there, staring at us, walking up to us, all freaking like, "Ooh, what are you gonna do about it, bud? Sucks to suck, mofos." Yeah, no,
like,
it
you're
was.
not Atheon and me.
Yeah, yeah. Grenade this, suckers, and then he comes over and freaking Suplon kicks you into freaking outer space. Oh my God.
Yeah. So I guess I'm gonna go back a little bit. There is one thing that I think is lore relevant about the mechanics for fighting him.
Okay.
And that is that there's a very distinct decision, and we saw this elsewhere in the raid as well when we were looking through the symbols. There's a huge amount of symbols. I think it was like 16 or 18 symbols
ridiculous.
in the raid.
It's ridiculous. It's 27, but yeah.
Oh, even more.
Yeah. Go fuck your little 16. That's cute.
What's bad is like I was a reader for most of our runs, so
And he did.
I remember what we called all of them. I couldn't tell you how many of them there were.
The crazy thing is,
they went
were
right out.
They were. We didn't even notice this going in the front door. They are all already named.
Yeah.
And now knowing that, I can't get our names of them out of my head, so I keep calling them the names that we came up with them, knowing now that they are wrong. Like they have actual names.
Wrong.
They're not wrong.
Better.
Exactly. Right. Like no, that's yeah.
So the mechanic, and like I said, we see this elsewhere. The symbols. There are 4 symbols in particular that are very intentionally separated from each other. And those symbols are the Traveler, the Pyramid, Light, and Dark. Now, under normal circumstances, you would think, and we even messed up our callouts because of this, we associate the Traveler with light to the point where like we were calling that symbol light until we saw the actual light symbol.
And realized that there was a symbol for light.
Yeah, same thing with the Pyramid in the Dark. And why I want to draw attention to this is that in the final fight with Rolk, part of the mechanic is you have to activate these pillars. There are only 4 pillars in the final DPS area, and those pillars are Traveler, Pyramid, Light, and Dark. And Traveler and Pyramid are on one side, and Light and Dark are on the other.
Yep.
And this seems to me is a very intentional statement and symbology of the light and the traveler are not the same thing, and the dark and the pyramids are not the same thing.
And that was something that I mentioned as I didn't even realize I mentioned it as I was mentioning it, but then it made sense to me. The darkness or the pyramid and the traveler are the entities, and the darkness and the light are the forces these entities use.
Mm-hmm.
And so now we really are starting to get, whereas before, like, and we've talked about this through many of our previous episodes of like, the deep is synonymous with the dark and the synonymous with the, no, we're actually getting named things for all of this stuff. And these named things are very important to be associated with themselves and not across multiple things. Namely,
Yes.
the sky is not necessarily the light, is not necessarily the traveler. The traveler is an entity. It uses the light as one of two known paracausal abilities,
Mm-hmm.
in service of the sky.
I
The
think that's correct.
That's what I'm going with. I'm going to go with that assumption, but until proven wrong.
Yep.
And then the same thing with the dark. The pyramids are using the dark in service to the deep, which is now known as the witness.
Now that is
That's where
something I'm
yeah,
unsure about.
right? Like, is the
Uh,
witness and is who's using who here?
right. Originally, I was under the thought that like the witness is the entity. The witness is
Now
the
I don't
the
fucking
big
know
bad
anymore.
dark. I'm not so sure anymore
I
because
don't fucking know. I'm
they
this whole raid and reading all the lore tabs today has like considerably screwed my mind up, and I don't know if I can recover from this.
so let's focus on Rourke and his relationship to the witness because I think that is very concrete. That we
Absolutely.
know most of the details
That
about.
is very. I say black and white, but
Um,
who knows anymore?
So to give a quick summary, I'm going to give a quick summary of Rourke himself and some of his history that I know. I have not read all of the Shattered Sun lore book, which I know goes into much greater detail on him.
Don't worry, we'll cover that
This
later.
is just kind of the gist of it. We will go into that in a later episode. We'll dedicate an episode to it.
100%. Because it's breaking.
But so Rourke, who is also known as the Subjugator, is
Also known
one of
as
the
the disciple.
disciples. Is one of the disciples of the Witness, possibly the first disciple.
Oh, I never even thought of it from that perspective. I always thought of him as the disciple, not a disciple.
He is a disciple.
Interesting. Okay.
And the disciples, as far as the hierarchy goes, are above the worm gods. So if we're to think of the darkness hierarchy, you have your rank and file.
I was just going to say we may have to redo our our darkness hierarchy.
So your darkness hierarchy right now, as we understand it, you have your rank and file, Hive, and Scorn, and then above them are like they worship their gods, so Hive gods, which would be Oryx, Savathun, Shivu Arath. Those Hive gods, although know of the Witness, and I think more directly, take orders from the Witness, they also know that the disciples are above them in power, and the disciples may carry out the Witness's will.
Where? Oh, yeah, that makes sense. So where would like Zol, Akka, all of them? Where would they lie?
Yeah. So you're right. I skipped one. So
are they equivalent to Savathun and Oryx? Would they just be like more generals, or are they still? Is there still that layer in between them and the disciple?
That's a good question. I do think that the worm gods sit a little bit above the hive gods.
Not by much, though.
Not by nearly as much as we thought.
Like we thought that they were like, ooh, yeah, but it turns out they're just
no, they're small potatoes.
Yeah.
So you have the hive gods, Oryx and Savathun and Shiva Wrath. Above them, the worm gods, Yol, Zol, Akka, Ir, Ur. And then above them, you have the disciples, such as Rulk. And the disciples are truly the ones that are the closest to the witness. Like
Sure.
they
are
can
literally
converse.
carrying out, like what you said, they are carrying out the witness's will.
Yeah, they are doing what the witness tells them to do. They can converse with the witness, at least semi-directly and on a somewhat regular basis.
Are we thinking like a telepathic link, or are we thinking more of a just like same room?
Not telepathic, I don't think, but they have ways to communicate with him. Because as we'll see later on, I think I included it in this. Savathun actually hijacks one of those communications.
Yeah.
So it has to be something that's hijackable.
Sure. Sure.
And then we have the witness above the disciples, and there's room for the witness to be below
somebody?
One more.
Like to be a number two, and to think that the witness could be a number two.
Well, and the reason why I say this, the main thing that has always struck me as odd, since we saw the witness for the first time.
Yeah.
The way the witness speaks is very different than how we have seen the darkness speak to us in lore cards and speak to Callus and speak to Oryx when Oryx met the Deep and communed with the Deep to get the power to take.
Interesting. I never made that correlation, but yeah.
The witness taught, the memes are going around, but he's no more life, pieces. No more death. You have no more pieces to play. Let us end this. Versus something like the Unveiling book, or versus the Books of Sorrow, where Oryx is talking to the Deep, and the Deep literally tells Oryx, "Hey, Oryx, welcome. Take a load off. Sit down." Like very just nonchalant, very different.
The witness may be way more devoted than the darkness.
I don't know that devoted is the right word. So I almost see
fanatical?
The darkness.
Maybe.
Maybe
extremist?
Fanatical. I could see that, and I don't think that the witness's ideology is different than the darkness's. The way that I envision the darkness in the entity that is described as talking to Oryx in this very nonchalant fashion, and even talks to us in the Unveiling book in this same very nonchalant fashion. If you've ever seen the TV series Lucifer,
yes,
that that interpretation of Lucifer is kind of how I see whatever this entity is, as this kind of charismatic, kind of knows it's all powerful, and so doesn't really care about pomp and circumstance because no one can do anything about it. That's kind of the vibe I get from reading those books, and that is not the Witness's vibe at all.
No, the Witness very much has this creepy domination, I will rule all of you, and I will make not even rule all of you, I will free all of you. That we are your salvation. That's the freaky part.
I'm not sure. I think if they retcon things a little bit and are that was all the Witness and he is the big bad, I'm not gonna be upset about it.
Right.
But it seems like a strange change.
I mean, you never know. He maybe okay. So
narratives
so follow
evolve,
this theory.
So
that's exactly. Narratives evolve. Research changes, right? Maybe with Oryx, he truly thought that this is it. I've found something to carry out the will, and this is going to be a thing. And then when Oryx died, he was like, shit.
Well, I don't think that's the case.
You don't think so? Okay.
No, we have some pretty direct evidence to suggest that's not the case.
Oh, yes, from the current lore stuff.
Yeah, from the current lore stuff. So anyway, not to get too off track here, but so
Oh, we never get off track in here.
Rulk the disciple sits as close to the witness as anyone can, as far as
Right
power
hand
level.
man, basically.
Right hand man, potentially his very first disciple.
Alexander Hamilton style.
Yeah, this will not be a musical episode. So
you want to fight for your land
Rulk-
back? I need my right hand man back. Hashtag please sponsor us, Disney.
That Disney money.
Lin-Manuel, I absolutely love you and adore you, and Encanto is awesome. Okay,
all right.
got that off my chest.
Thank yous happen at the end.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
But so Rulk was, before becoming the disciple, was the last surviving member of the Lubre people, which was a civilization that had been blessed by the Traveler, similar to the Fallen or the Elixni. But they fell into a military dictatorship after the Traveler left them for reasons unknown.
The regime.
When the witness arrives,
doesn't that just sound dark? Like
it does.
It does. The regime, like it's described that way throughout the whole lore reading, and it's just it makes you want to hate them, right? Like it makes you want to down with the regime. Fuck the anarchy. Yeah, no, absolutely.
And I mean, they essentially ended up destroying themselves.
Yeah.
So the Traveler left probably because it knew the witness was coming. The witness arrives, and the planet at the point the witness arrives, the planet is already pretty much done for. One of its moons or suns, they don't really specify.
I think they're suns. So because when they talk about them, they talk about one is like an umbral sun, and one is a
one's like a blue and
saphiristic sun.
Yeah.
So the saphiristic would be like a blue star, right? Like what is that? A blue dwarf? Is that what that's?
I know there's a red dwarf. Blue dwarf might also be a thing though.
Is that what I'm thinking of? For some reason, that's what making me think of. And then the umbral sun, which is dwarf. So and then the umbral sun is essentially a black hole.
Maybe.
That's what I think of it as, right? Right? Like because they talk about it as the umbral sun, which would be like the darkened sun, like, and anything that would have that size to it in the sky that would also give off a dark light would be either a dead star or a dying star. Like something that's gone supernova, or maybe a supernova star that hasn't black holed yet or something, maybe a neutron star or something, right?
Yeah, regardless, their son, one of their sons, which it sounds like they were drawing power from, in their push towards this military dictatorship, essentially ends up breaking their son in half. Fractures it.
When we think of it from a scientific standpoint, because me, I love looking at the science side of this.
Mm-hmm.
The sun is just a giant ball of energy, right?
Yeah.
And if you're siphoning this energy, right, we know that at least in this universe, energy cannot be created or destroyed. It can only be transferred or stored. If you're just siphoning this energy from it, and eventually you're going to siphon it down to nothing, to where now all the energy is on your side of the equation, and science doesn't like an unbalanced equation. Science and math is like, no. Hold the hell on here. There's consequences for this. And in this case, the consequence was bye-bye star.
Yep. So the witness
sun.
comes upon
sun is a star,
this
not
planet that has been under this military regime, which has been led by essentially
is it stalkers.
What's that?
Because it's stalkers and wanderers, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Stalkers is like the regime. That's like the military arm of the regime, and wanderers is like the people being hunted down that aren't living in the city.
That aren't. Yeah. And so Rulk, prior to being a disciple, um, he was betrayed by his family. And I only have the Spark notes here. So Zora, if you have anything specific about it, because I know you've read it, feel free
A, a
to
little
fill
bit,
in.
and this is where like the Shattered Suns lore book. We're gonna have to dive into this one because it's
Yeah.
deep. Basically, what happens is Rulk was part of the Wanderers, so he was part of the clans that were kind of like wandering around and very clan like, very nomadic clan like. They were being hunted down by the Stalkers. Eventually his father his father the whole time was like, death to the regime this whole time, and then he's taken off during one of the raids. Like he's literally captured and taken off to the city. They don't see him for a very long time, and then when he does finally meet up with him again, he's wearing regime clothes, and now he's fully regimed up, and he's just like, yeah, no, regime not so bad, it's whatever, come fight by my side, be my right hand man. And Rulk is like, fuck that, and kind of goes nuts
Yeah,
and
he has like an
starts
existential
murdering
crisis.
everyone. It doesn't matter, woman, man, child, uncle, father, mother, sister, brother. He murders everyone.
Yeah, he has a psychotic break, essentially.
He literally
In
murders the
the worst way.
entire Lubre people.
Mm-hmm. Although they were on the path to do it to themselves.
Right, like they were the sun was already going to blow up, and it was already going to supernova, and the planet was going to die anyway. But there's like this abyss, right? There's this very dark garden somewhere near the city that he's thrust into, and he has his glaive that he started off calling it Relic Sword, which is his father's name was Relics, and
Yep.
so that's what he had named it. And then after this like existential crisis, he renames it Relic Spade. And so that's the, like, when you're in the fight, that's the glaive that's on his back. Like anyone who's actually done the fight, the glaive that you shoot, the name of that glaive is Relic's Bane, later to become known as Lubrea's Ruin.
Yep.
Which is the actual glaive that you get from the raid.
Yep. That you can craft from the raid.
Yes, that you can craft. Wait.
Well, no, it drops as well. You're right. You're right.
And then you have to craft it.
So as the witness comes upon Rulk kind of in the midst of having ended his species.
Yeah.
And Rulk sees the witness as kind of like a god descending from heaven kind of vibe.
Even deeper than that, like a new father.
Yeah, like the witness is his reason for existing, essentially. Yep. Is how enthralled he has become with the witness and the witness's plans for the universe. I don't even think he necessarily subscribes to. I don't think he thinks enough to subscribe to like the theology of the witness. It's just if the witness believes it's true, then that's the only path forward, and there is no questioning.
So that's where it goes kind of into the Shattered Suns a little bit. I think he there's a few scenes in there that get described of Rulk as he's kind of evolving through this crisis of identity, and one of them, a constant theme in there is like, what does it even matter? Why? Like, what's the freaking point of anything? And that's where it comes back to like seeing this like father figure in him. He's finally giving him purpose. He's finally giving him direction.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where like the witness to Rulk is very much that direction giver, the father figure, the god, of the new world order type thing. Like it's man.
Yeah.
I reading these books, I was literally like speechless the whole time. Like I'm reading, I'm just like, what the hell? Like it almost humanizes him, and I'm like, did we do something bad in this raid? Like,
I mean, I don't think
are we the bad guys?
I don't think we're the baddies in this case, but I do think that, and that they have done this very well over the last, probably year and a half now, um, about making sure that our enemies are not just black and white. There is no good
Yeah.
or bad anymore. Everything is a shade of
Yeah.
gray. Everything has motivations, and they're motivations
Yeah.
that we can at least understand, even if we don't agree with.
It's fucking
Um,
mind blowing. Like it's it's so funny too, because like if we think of it in other medium, right? Like the other clear, I mean, the very obvious similarity would be Thanos, right? Like Thanos did what
yeah,
he did because he thought he was saving the universe. And it's like technically he's not wrong, right? Like because resources are a finite thing, and just like energy, it can only be transferred, it can't be destroyed or created or anything like that. Like it, since there is a finite amount of something, you're eventually going to run out of it, and to stop that, the universe has to almost correct itself, right? And all Thanos wanted to do was speed up that correction process. And it God, it's this really weird feeling, right? To look at these things as no longer black and white, as this very relatable thing. Like, okay, if it was me on this end, like if I was slowly losing my mind because my family was like, oh, down with the regime, and then I turn around and now they're part of the regime. Like, what is happening here? Like, for years I've grown up thinking, oh, well, fuck the regime, they're bad, screw them. And then, come find out later, oh yeah, they're not so bad. They live in the life of luxury. Like they're really well off. The city's super nice. Like we don't have to wander around waiting for death every night. Like because the planet, the Lubrea planet, is very much described as like this very hostile place. Like obviously the
mm-hmm.
militaristic side of it makes it even more hostile, right? So you have the stalkers that are literally wandering around during the day killing everyone, and then at night there are things that essentially there's things that go bump in the night that are killing everyone. They're killing everyone that isn't killed by the stalkers that
Yep.
don't live in the city. They talk about fauna that can flatten itself so thinly that you don't even know it's there until your skin has been ripped from your bones and your guts and flesh are nothing but pustule bits about you. Like it's super graphic too. Like it's
Yeah. That's one way to get around a T rating. If it's all in the just text, then it doesn't affect the
it,
rating.
it doesn't matter. But yeah, no, it's
um,
dark. Like all of these lore readings are very dark and like, oh
yeah. So that is how the disciple, the subjugator, Rook kind of comes to be.
yeah,
Is he is literally the last of his species, uh, broken and strong, obviously strong enough to do all of this. And the
very
witness
sword
appears to
logic light.
him. Yeah, the witness appears to him and chooses him to be his disciple, and gives him purpose, essentially. And then what Rook goes on to do in service of the witness is described in the lore cards of the three armor sets, one for each class that you can get in the raid.
Which
So
the
to
armor sets are freaking freaky. They're
Yeah,
freaky and they're off-putting and they're super cool. Like the warlock helm has like these moving bits on it that are like woo 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 woo, and then like the
they look like
bond is like
eyelashes. Is what they look like.
yeah, and then like the bond is like always doing this sine wave type motion, and then like did you see the hunter cloak where it's like this like
Yeah,
from the
like down the
front.
spine of it has got
Yeah,
the
that fucking shit on it.
spindles
Like,
that are moving
what the
around.
hell,
Yeah.
man? And then you look at it from the front, it's very much this like ruler Vazad is just a badass. Yeah. And then like the Titan face, and it's just like nom 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 nom. It's super freaky. Like everything about
Mm-hmm.
this armor is freaky, but super cool too. Like it's really neat.
Except the
Sorry, I
warlock
didn't mean to
chest
get
piece because
excited
it
there.
looks like a diaper.
Exactly. That's the one I Myth and I are in agreements with this. For once, the warlock robes look like crap.
Yeah.
Not
It's
bad crap.
it's a shame.
To the
Yeah.
artist and people that designed it, thank you. But
Yeah. No.
maybe not give us such wide hips. Like, I mean, I know these hips don't lie, but Jesus, man, I like me some thick boys, but that's whatever.
Well, that aside, the lore cards on this armor is also really, really cool and completely changes how we think about some of the major characters that we have had in the lore up till now. So I'm going to go through these chronologically, as far the lore cards chronologically to the deeds Rook did.
Yeah.
So we're going to start with the Titan armor, then the Hunter, and then finish with the Warlock. And then we're also going to talk about the Sparrow and the Ghost Shell.
And what about the legendary glaives and the legendary pulse?
So
yeah, I didn't read those, did you?
I did not bring those up as I was going through everything today.
That's okay.
So I'll have to rely on you for that. Not the exotic glaives, you mean, but
yes,
the legendary one. Okay.
The exotic glaives. Each class has its own lore entry.
This is true, but those don't cover Rook specifically.
I don't think so.
I recall correctly, those are more Savathûn based.
Yeah.
Because
that's one thing that's kind of important about the glaives themselves. The glaive actually comes more from Rook than anywhere else.
Yeah. No, the original glaive, the original artifact that we took in the campaign to make our glaive was stolen from Rook by Savathûn.
Yep.
Not stolen from the Witness as we originally thought.
Yep.
So I'm going to start with the Titan armor here. I do not have these word for word because they are not on Ishtar Collective because the API has not been updated yet. I cannot read them because I do not have the game in front of me, so I'm going to be paraphrasing, but I think I've gotten most of the main points down here. So the biggest
I'm getting back up going.
revelation from the Titan armor is that Rook played the main part in getting the worm gods to be subservient to the Witness.
And each section of the Titan armor, each portion of it has a different lore associated with each of the 5 worm gods.
Has a different flavor text on like the top of the lore card. Most of the actual lore cards themselves, though, are being read from either the perspective of Rook or the perspective of a worm god that we have not known until now, named Zeta.
Yeah.
And so, this is more or less the story. The worm gods were in fact trapped in Fundament by the Leviathan.
It was
as
a
we
prison.
know from the Books of Sorrow. It was in fact a prison.
I when I found that out and I realized that through the Titan armor, I was like, Myth, we did something.
So, but what we don't know from the Books of Sorrow is that there were 6 worms, not 5.
Yeah.
Originally, there were 6. And that 6th worm was called Zeta, Xita, and she was the mother of the other 5.
I completely fucks with a bunch of our theories, right? Like,
completely changes a bunch of our theories, but we had the right idea that there was like a mother worm that all the other worms spawn off of.
Yes. And all these worms were subservient to, these were literally worms grown from what? Like these were worms grown from the larva? Is that
Well,
I know, so I'm jumping. I'm sorry.
Zeta birthed the other 5.
Okay.
Yul, Zol, Ir, Akka, Ire.
Okay.
And
if you say them 5 times fast enough, 5 times, your brain will actually implode into itself, and you'll create a mini black hole inside your brain.
So that's why I'm not going to do that.
You'll learn the power to take if you do it 6 times fast.
I don't want that either.
This could come in handy at the DMV.
Actually, we need to talk about the power to take as well.
Yes, we do. There's so much lore.
So Rook comes to Fundament under orders from the Witness.
Correct.
Because the Witness knows that the traveler has its eyes on the krill.
Yep.
And
we know
decides
this.
to
We know for a fact that the krill were the next in line by way of the campaign. Like we talked about in the campaign, that is something that is revealed. The worms lied to the sisters, started the idea of this god wave that in I don't think ever happened. Maybe the syzygy happened because the syzygy is just lining up the moons, but I don't think the god wave itself ever happened.
Yeah, I don't know if the god wave itself ever happened. The worms didn't even come up with that lie.
Yeah.
That again was the witness. So Rulk goes to Fundament under orders of the witness, because they know that the traveler is going to choose the krill. And Rulk, being the incredibly powerful being that he is, just fucking swam in the oceans of Fundament all the way down.
Yeah.
To where the worms
no
prison
ship needed
was.
Here, bitches. No needle here.
Nothing. Similar to the Hive sisters that would come later, the Leviathan, who is the kind of gatekeeper, the guardian of this prison for the worms,
turn back from the deep.
Confronts Rulk and kind of gives him the same spiel that it gave the Hive sisters.
Yeah.
I think not realizing who or what Rulk was.
Turn back, young mortal. Bitch, I just swam all the way down here. Who the fuck you think you are?
And so Rulk decides that the best way to teach the Leviathan its place is to essentially not only fight the Leviathan and beat the ever-loving shit out of it, but in that fight to literally pull its rib out of its body.
With his bare fucking hands.
With his bare hands.
That's oh my god! And so that's the bone that we see at the beginning of the raid.
That's the bone you see in the raid.
Freaking Leviathan rib bone. Like, holy shit! Ah!
So
sorry, having a little bit of a moment.
So he is thoroughly
might be hashtag Team Rulk here for a little bit, and just that's fine.
So he has thoroughly humiliated and gravely injured the Leviathan, who decides to leave him the fuck alone after that.
Yeah. Leviathan's like, nah, bro, I'm good. You do what you want, man. I don't even care anymore.
So Rulk now takes this bone, this rib bone that he has ripped out of the Leviathan, and continues down to the prison where the worms are held. And the worms at first, or Zeta, I should say, at first tries to put on some of the pomp and circumstance, and like, how do you stand before us? And we have we are mighty, and essentially is trying to use what we learn. The worm gods have a level of like mind control abilities. They have a level of
like the Ahamkara.
Well, I've got more on that. I've got lots more on that, actually.
Disciple mine. Yeah, let's get it.
So Zeta tries to put on this this grandeur that they do with the sisters later on of like, we are the worm gods.
Hey baby, come check out my house. You want to see the couch? It's so awesome.
Who are you
like,
to stand
fuck your
before
couch.
Us? Rulk responds by saying, I know who you are. I know what your powers are. They will not work on me. And then he proceeds to beat the ever-loving shit out of Zeta with the rib bone he just pulled out of the Leviathan.
With the fucking rib bone? Like, who does that?
So...
Yeah.
After he
hashtag Team Rulk for a little while. That's what's happening here.
After he has literally clubbed Zeta into submission, he offers her a bargain, essentially. He says, like, he says, I know that you worms are starving in your prison. that you have no hope of survival if you stay in this prison. I can guarantee that your children will find sustenance in the creatures above on the surface of Fundament if you submit yourself to me.
Holy shit.
The you being Zeta.
Holy shit.
So
the balls on this dude. Walks into a prison, looks the prison guard in the face and says, "Fuck you," steals his rib, beats the shit out of that dude, goes further in, finds the biggest, baddest mother in the middle of the prison and says, "What's up?" And the mother's like, "Hey, I can mind control." And he's like, "Fuck you," beats the shit out of her. Oh my god.
So Zeta agrees because she doesn't want her children to starve.
Right.
And so he literally drags Zeta from the depths of Fundament all the way up out of the oceans back to his pyramid ship.
Holy effing shit.
And when you get in there, when you play the story mission or happen to get through the raid and see the sheer size of this worm, because that is Zeta, that is in the middle of the pyramid ship, it is unimaginable.
That's a huge bitch. Yeah, no, she like, because when you first see her from like the first room, right? Like, I mean, she is just massive and like she's coiled up, and whatever that red crap is flowing in or out of to the center pyramid. Like, it's mind blowing. And then when you get to the final encounter, you're sitting on top of that and you look down and like, this worm is huge. Like, this thing is like 100 times the size of Zol, right? Like, and anyone who doesn't, like, I know there's probably some newer players here that didn't get a chance to play the Warmind stuff before it was sunset. In the Warmind, we keep referencing this. In the Warmind DLC, in the first year of Destiny 2, there was a mission called not Strange Terrain. I can't think of the other. Is it just called Zol, Will of Thousands? I think it is.
I think it was, yeah.
But you go to like, you're like running through the mine lab of Rasputin on Mars, and then you get to the end of it, and Zol's there, like this huge worm god, and like you're gifted this javelin from Rasputin, and you start hucking this javelin at him and beating him down, and you know, when he finally lands on the platform, like, you can go jump up on his head and teabag him a bunch, and then he kind of dissipates into nothing. But like, he's still like, size wise, like he's maybe 2 people tall, right? Like or wide, right? Like if two if 2 people stood on top of each other's shoulders, that's about how wide this worm is. And then like, his mouth isn't really that big. Like it like, you could probably fit 2 or 3 people in it, but that's about it. This worm god at the bottom of the disciple thing, you could fit a whole raid in it. Like, you could, like, this thing is huge.
Yeah, it is incredibly massive. And what Rook does with Zeta, now that he has kind of forced her into enslavement, essentially.
Subjugator Rook.
The subjugator, yep.
Yeah.
He takes her to his pyramid ship, and he plugs her in to this super weapon inside the pyramid called the upended, and that is what that like cube-esque pillar floating in the middle of the raid is. That her energy is feeding this upended super weapon, and she's stuck there. Like, Zeta is forever stuck getting sustenance from Rook in some way, and then immediately having it cycle out into this super weapon in his ship.
So I'm curious. Here's, when you say it that way, I don't know why I didn't interpret it that way, but now that you're saying it that way, I'm curious if that's part of the power the power chain, right? Like, maybe the worm gods are somehow feeding her through through their larvae, right? That were given to the sisters, who then have their hive down the line, their knights, their acolytes, their thralls, feed them, right?
So like, yeah, tribute going up the chain
Yeah.
until eventually reaching the 5 worm
Zeta.
gods, which would then eventually all go to Zeta as like the pinnacle of the pyramid. That may very well be how it's working.
All
that
this
would
to
make a lot
feed
of
this
sense.
upending weapon. What the fuck is the upending? Like, I know I'm cursing a lot this episode, but holy crap, my brain has imploded from reading all this stuff. Like, I have no idea where to go with any of this. What the heck is the upending?
So the upended, as far as I can tell, we don't have any good concrete anything. But it's a super weapon. It's
like a
it
super
has
super
the
weapon.
ability. It has the ability to destroy not planets, but like entire realms.
Like reality.
If Rulk were to fire the upended, which he tries to do in the raid, it would destroy the entire ascendant plane, from my understanding.
Because it's trapped within Savathun's
Because it's trapped
throne
within Savathun's throne world.
Oh, that's the key there. That's why Savathun locked him in there. Okay, all right. Go ahead. That just made a ton of sense there. So if he ever does fire this weapon, the only thing he's ever unmaking is the Ascendant Plane, and then and not even the Ascendant Plane. He's only unmaking Savathun's throne world. In which case, who the hell cares? Savathun just make another one.
He's unmaking at least Savathun's throne world. It's implied, based on what I was reading, it wouldn't stop at her throne world. It would be the entirety of the Ascendant Plane and every throne world in it.
Oh my god.
So super weapon is it means it this time.
Hyper weapon, right? Like
yeah.
Yeah. You thought Supersonic was good. Check out Hypersonic. He makes Supersonic look like a bitch.
And it has been storing power from
this whole
Zeta,
fucking time.
And if we're assuming that that's
a billion
through the
years?
tribute chain, it's been storing it for 1 billion years. All of the tribute that has trickled up through all of the hive over the last 1 billion years are in this thing. And that's why it's so damn powerful.
I know you can't see it right now, but my jaw is like on the floor. Like I'm having trouble processing this information. Okay.
So
holy
he doesn't
crap.
stop there. So he is Zeta subservient to him, and by nature of her deal, she has essentially not only enslaved herself, but ensured that while her children will survive, they will also always be enslaved to the witness.
God.
And
dude, this is nuts. If the witness isn't the entity, if the witness isn't the darkness, what the hell?
Yeah.
Like
I have some thoughts on that, just not like theory, but just whether I want him to be or not be the big bad. Because I don't want them to run into the WoW problem, or what I call the WoW problem, where
once we beat the big bad, now what?
Well, for the last like number of expansions in World of Warcraft, it's always been we beat the big bad, and then like at their death scene, they're like, "Oh, but I was only trying to protect you from this bigger bad that's coming next expansion. So buy that one, please." That has literally been like the last 3 expansions of World of Warcraft, which I do not play anymore, but I know enough about it.
We're kind of head that way, right? Like we killed Savathun, and she's like, "Oh, there's something worse." And now we've killed Rook, and he's like, "Oh, there's something worse."
So
shit.
I'm fine with it right now. I think what they've done and how they've set these characters up is worthy of this hierarchy, but I don't want them to fall into the trap of,
I don't want it to fall, like, don't trap yourselves. We know you're better than this. See the trap before you form it.
Yeah. So that's my only concern with the witness, and like, is there a thing above him? Because hopefully it stops somewhere and it doesn't go on for years.
Sorry, that just the thought of like, please, for the love of God, just stop at the witness. The witness is the entity. The witness is darkness. Doom. Done. There.
Yep.
Moving on. Next big baddie. Something else is threatening humanity. We're staving off something from humanity. Like, we're saving humanity. We're not saving the universe. We're saving humanity. That's what we need to get back to.
So back to Rourke. So we can try and finish off the Titan set and maybe get through the others, because there's still a lot to go.
There is.
So not only has he plugged Zeta into this machine to make this super weapon, he is also literally carving pieces out of her. And those pieces, similar to earthworms in real life, or maybe this is a myth, but I've always heard if an earthworm gets cut in half, technically those two halves will have the ability to turn into two more worms.
They absolutely do. We did this as a science experiment when I was in 8th grade. We took earthworms and cut them in half, and then just kept them basically as pets for like 2 or 3 weeks. And sure enough, they just start moving about as two earthworms now. It's kind of freaky, but it's kind of cool.
A little bit, yeah. Zeta apparently has the same ability or the same physiology, and Rourke literally just is carving pieces out of her, and those pieces are the larvae that then are in all of the hive.
Mind-blowing. Fucking mind-blowing.
And then Rourke, again, under direction of the witness, takes one of these larvae and essentially sets it up in such a way that it would be discovered by the Osmium King, and put into motion all of the events that led to the krill becoming the hive.
All to stop them from being taken by the light.
Chosen by the light.
All because Rourke has seen what the light has done. It gives these civilizations all this power and all this stuff. Essentially, like what we thought of our guardians, or our ghosts rather, building an army, trying to do something to build an army to stop the witness. And by the time the witness gets there, humanity or whatever whatever species the traveler has been enabling with the golden ages, just says, well, shit, this planet's lost, bye, and leaves. And now darkness takes over. So now Rourke is seeing this play out in front of him, and god damn.
So the next bit of lore I want to go over is the hunter armor.
Yes.
And this is a little different, but it explains a lot. Potentially explains a lot. So in this lore, the witness has told Rourke to infiltrate a species named the aspids, and over time to turn them into something that could be used by the deep. And he tells Rourke, apparently, Rourke normally when he goes to like invade or deal with a species or a planet or something, he comes in guns blazing.
Yeah.
He's referred to, one of his other titles is the Wrath.
Yep.
The Witness's Wrath, which, correlation to the Queen's Wrath, I don't think is coincidental.
Oh, shit.
So he comes in, guns blazing, pyramid ships, and just like glasses a planet, or does whatever he needs to do by force. And he is very specifically told here by the witness, no one can know you're there. I want you to accomplish this and be a shadow. Nobody can see you, nobody can hear from you. You can't take military action of your own. I want you to go down here, infiltrate them, turn them into something we can use, but not through your normal forceful means.
That's kind of a mind fuck, right? Like that's like a like to tell somebody that's been that militaristic in conquering things to be like, yeah, do it, but without shooting a single shot. And you're like, what? I'm the general of the army. Like I'm your wrath. Like, what do you
Well,
mean not fire a
and
single shot?
and I shouldn't say that he doesn't fire a shot, but he doesn't. Yeah, he doesn't command an army. He doesn't
Yeah.
invade. What he does is he starts murdering people. But in dark
As one
alleyways
psychopath does.
right, as psychopaths do. It's very strategically to make this phantom of people are dying, and he's killing just the right people in just the right ways to start to make the Aspid people blame each other.
Yep.
And up till this point, the Aspids are described as like a completely peaceful culture. They don't have war. They don't even have a military. It's just everybody coexists within the Aspid society without need of conflict.
Which I'm curious as to why the Witness chose this race, right? Like,
well, I think because what they are showing in that kind of picturesque society, that is the epitome of what the Traveler believes people are capable of.
Sure.
And the Witness, probably very intentionally, is showing how easy it is to undo that.
To pick it apart.
Easy people will fall into survival of the fittest and prove its point over the Traveler's point.
And prove the sword logic. Yep.
So Rulk is there, stalking through the shadows, killing key people, causing distrust between the Aspids. They're blaming each other for these deaths, and this people that used to be a very peace-loving, society is now consumed by paranoia and fear, and they start to form factions. They start to form nation states and make their own armies and have technology starts to have a weapons race and their rivalries. And Rulk is, at this point, he doesn't need to do anything else. Like he did his initial killings to cause this instability, and now he's just kind of leaning back and watching the show.
Yep.
Unfortunately, things escalated outside of his expectations. Because remember, his original mission from the Witness was turn the Aspids into something we can use. I think similar to what they did with the Krill.
Absolutely.
What he ends up doing, though, is turning the Aspids into a group that becomes so technologically advanced and so militaristically advanced and so untrusting of each other that nuclear war breaks out and they destroy themselves.
Oopsies. Made a poopsies.
Small miscalculation.
Mean,
as nuclear Armageddon tends to be.
Yeah, right? Like, almost only counts in horseshoes, hand grenades, and thermonuclear warfare, right?
Right, yeah. However...
I almost hit that city, but I didn't. But it doesn't matter because I have a kill radius of 17.1 billion miles. Thanks, Aldrin, for setting off a tactical nuke and winning the war. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Simulated.
Simulated nuclear warfare. This was actual nuclear warfare.
Yes. However, one lone Aspid survived. That Aspid went by the name of Un, and Rulk finally revealed himself to Un as the cause of all of these centuries of murder.
What do you do to that? What on a psychological level would that do to a person?
Well, what it does to Un, at least, is it breaks him.
Absolutely.
Or it or her. And say Rulk, Un questions Rulk, like, why? Why did you do this? And who are you? What did you have to gain? And Rourke only answers with, I am Rourke. With no context. And it just kind of like drives home the meaninglessness of all of these
Yeah.
actions.
What's the freaking point?
And he originally thinking his mission had been a complete failure. At the end of this armor set, he states something along the lines of, and then Un looked upon me with the same eyes that I looked upon you, my witness, with all those years ago, or something to that effect. Implying that Un, again, the very last of his species, just like Rolk, may have been turned into another disciple.
Absolutely, 100%. That's after reading that lore, that's what I got out of that. That was the exact same thoughts I had. I'm like, okay, so this is now. I was thinking of it as in like he's now a disciple of the disciple, but now seeing it this way, I think, and especially reading it as Rulk is just a disciple, I think Un is another disciple. I think these are just multiple disciples that are, and it's curious to me. So, oh my God, what if that's what happened to Lubre?
So, I have a sneaking suspicion. I'm gonna talk about disciples. After we get through the warlock armor, because that has some important bits that will also lead into that discussion.
Oddly enough, the warlock armor was the one I understood the most.
Right? Like
why? Why? Do all the hunters understand the hunter lore from their own gear? No, they don't. They go, how does this work in PvP? No? Okay, I don't give a shit. Like, all right.
Does it help me jump real high? No, I don't care.
No, don't give a shit. I saw a meme today. You might have posted it. Somebody might have posted it in one of the chats. Where it's a hunter with stompies plus 100 mobility plus a lightweight frame plus some other buffs and this, that, and the other thing, and it was just a cartoon showing of the Flash going so fast that he starts stretching apart and running faster than time. Like, yeah.
Yep. That's what all hunters strive for. I'm convinced.
That's literally what they strive for. All hunters are just the Flash.
So looking at the warlock armor, this is a much more recent kind of lore bit here. So after the events of the Aspids, which Rourke did technically fail his original mission at, whether he got a disciple out of it or not is not 100% certain. I think he did, but he failed. And so kind of as punishment, the witness has now sent Rourke to supervise Savathun.
Yep.
And to kind of give a timeline here, this is happening at the time that Savathun is first becoming a hive, a powerful like hive god, quote unquote.
Past the point of Sarthona.
Yeah, has now transitioned into Savathun, but hasn't been Savathun for very long at this point.
Very much in the beginning. In the beginning, there was Savathona. Yeah.
Has just now created her throne world, essentially, or has started to create her throne world. And so the witness sends Rourke to supervise Savathona because
Savathona.
He believes Savathona, goddamn. Because he believes Savathun can be a disciple.
Absolutely. She is that powerful, that she has that drive or that whatever that's what defines a disciple?
I think the defining characteristic to be a disciple is that they have to be the last of their species or the last of their echelon of their species, maybe. And that they need to have they need to have done that of their own accord through proving their right to exist through violence, essentially.
Thus breaking their will.
Have overcome everything else. those are the qualifiers for a
I
disciple, at
and
least
and
from
I
what
and
I've
I
seen.
and I think breaking of their will is in there too. Like that's like
Yeah,
because like
that seems to be a
once
theme.
they've been broken of their will, now they just look at whatever it is above them as okay, nothing else mattered. My servitude to you is what matters. Like that's what truly
Hmm.
matters in this universe, in this reality, in this existence. Jesus Christ,
So
this stuff is
so the reason this is a punishment for Rulk is because Rulk absolutely hates the hive gods. Uh,
but I
he
think because
sees
they've
their
I, I think he hates them because they've kind of figured out a way to kind of circumvent the system, right? Like,
a little bit, yeah. He despises their use of a throne world. He sees
yeah,
it as a weakness. That like they're afraid of true death, but they're hiding in this throne world is kind of his viewpoint. And he says, they're never using their full strength unless they're forced to because they
yep,
have no other choice. Um, and when Rourke learns that the witness sees Savathun as a potential disciple, he's kind of not okay with it.
yeah.
Uh,
Because
I don't know if
now there's
jealous
quite
is the right word, but he's like they're not
yeah,
worthy.
definitely a
Uh,
level of jealousy going on there.
and I saw this comment on the Destiny lore subreddit, I believe it was, where someone described their relationship as Palpatine Vader esque, where the witness
Yeah,
is constantly keeping Rulk's ego in check by like
yep,
giving him something he doesn't want to do, and I
yep.
think that's a really apt comparison. Uh, so despite Rulk's misgivings, he doesn't like he never talks back to the
Yeah,
witness. Like if the witness says you need to go do this, then that is the law, and he will go do it, whether
yep.
he wants to or not. He has like a religious. He holds the witness in this like religious part of his life. Like he worships them to that degree.
And that's where I think that broken will comes back into play, right? Like
Yeah.
because you've broken all ties and all everything to everything else, like you literally see the rest of the entirety of your existence up to that point as meaningless, as serving no purpose, as nothing of that matters. And now there's this thing that is giving you command, giving you purpose, and that's all you can see. And so it is very much that religious and I don't want to say extremist or fanaticism, but that's I mean it's kind of like that.
It definitely is like that for the disciples that are
Yes.
described. Um I think we can draw some real world comparisons here for
Odd that they would
people
choose the word
for
disciple.
right. Uh for anyone that is maybe reading through these lore books or lore cards or listening to this and being like, why would they pair up with that, especially when they know that it's responsible for the end of their world or something like that. Um, not to get dark and gloomy here, but I know people that have gone through some very rough times and they end up in a situation where they're looking for anything to make them feel better or anything to give a new goal to
to
strive
have
for.
to have that
Uh,
justification of existence, to have
and
the
it is
why do I
very
go on?
it is very easy, whether you agree with it or not, it's very easy for a religious tie to fill a lot of that void for people that are in that situation. Uh, and you could argue there is no more dire situation than being the last of your kind.
The last of your kind. Like that's I think that's the key there too. Like you are the last living existing thing of your entire like we always come up with like these I say we like Hollywood always comes up with these ideas of like the last living human on earth, what would he do type thing, right? it but like that's kind of a hard thing to imagine, like what if you were the last living thing of your species, like what do you do, how do you go on, like how do you find purpose? because everything about your species is about making your species continue on, and now there is no way to do that. What do you
Well,
do?
and just the social aspect as well. Like,
yeah,
there's no one to talk to. There will never be
never,
anyone to talk to.
never
There will
be anyone
never be anyone to interact with.
to relate with, to have shared experiences. Like,
So
on a
to be in that
psychological level, that
position,
just freaking that will destroy a person's psyche.
so to be in that position and then to have some higher power, or literally in some cases, in these lore books, like come down from the sky and say
Yeah.
like you can be my chosen one if you will follow
can be
me.
so much more, my child. Yeah.
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 So that's kind of the mentality that these, at least the disciples we have been told about, were in when they made that choice.
All two of them that we know about.
All two of them that we know
Lord
about.
help us if there was like 12 of them and we're just like fucked. Like, I mean, we
I
dealt with
have
one
some
pretty
theories.
decently. It took us 3 days and a couple of anteater errors, but we dealt with one. We'll get
So
through the other
I have-
9, 10, 11, whatever.
I have theories.
I know.
But so to get through the rest of the warlock armor, so Rulk is babysitting Savathun. At the creation of her throne world, he has parked a pyramid ship there. It is the pyramid ship that holds Zeta.
Just pulls on in, just what's up,
Yep.
bitches?
And has built kind of his own city in a corner of her throne world to be the worm factory. And he does this very intentionally because he knows that it kind of bothers Savathun to see the production of the things that are leading to the subjugation of her entire species. And so of course he does it in her private space, essentially.
Yep. Like, you think you own this mindscape? Guess what? You ain't owning shit, motherfucker. Yeah, no, that's exactly how I think of.
Yeah.
Rulk
So
now.
and of the hive gods especially, he doesn't like any of them, but he could kind of get behind Oryx and Shivu Arath because they're both of a warrior type nature. They're both of a like act first, ask questions later kind of,
which is very much what he was, right? Like being
kind of idea, yeah.
The wrath
being
of the
wrath
disciple,
of the witness,
or the witness, yeah.
But Savathun doesn't do that. Savathun is trickery and shadow work and manipulation in the background, and that is totally not his thing. And so it just makes him hate her even more.
Yeah.
And he even like pokes at her after Oryx died. And this is a part where the reason I say I don't think the witness ever was comfortable with Oryx, thinking that he was going to be the thing that brought on the final shape, is because the Rolk here in his dialogue to Savathun about the end of Oryx says something along the lines of, your brother is ended for good, how it just how it has always needed to be.
Yep.
Essentially implying that like the death of Oryx was preordained by the
always
witness as to happen eventually.
Yep.
And kind of is not making fun of, but kind of trying to get under Savathun's skin, and is kind of
definitely
says like,
trying to needle
well,
her.
now that your brother is gone, you must be ecstatic. You finally killed him after so many attempts to do so before. Did you take did you learn the power to take? Did you will you now assume his throne? Kind of jabs at her.
Oh yeah.
And he gets to her. He kind of like unsettles her a little bit by telling her that if she were ever to rebel, that the machine Zeta's hooked up to destroys everything. Like it's his insurance policy. If Savathun ever does anything the witness doesn't like, he just turns on the death bomb, and there's nothing she can do about it.
Bye worm world. Bye throne world. Bye. Yeah.
Unfortunately for Rulk, Savathun gets the light.
Yeah. He did not plan on that at all.
No, through the methods we talked about in the previous episode, Savathun gets the light, and the very first thing she does with it is imprison that fucker in his own pyramid, like unable to move with what they call a light curse.
Boom.
Not only is she sealed up the pyramid, she like froze him with light power inside the pyramid.
Yep.
And he can't do anything until our guardian ass comes around and kills Savathun, the one thing that was keeping him in check.
Shit.
And so now the light curse that she placed on him is weakening, and he's breaking free of it with the intention to use the upended
100%.
bomb.
Literally just gonna boop. Bye throne world.
And now we as the Guardians are going into the raid, not necessarily knowing that he's intending to do this, but knowing that Savathun had trapped something in there, and now that something is doing things. And we need to go stop
investigate. Not necessarily stop, because it starts off as an investigation. Like that's the whole thing. That's the whole theme that's going on with Witch Queen is. Excuse me. We are very much gumshoes. We're detectives. We're trying to we're piecing together bits and puzzles and stuff like that. Like, yeah, no, that's that. Yeah.
So that's kind of where the warlock armor ends.
As does the raid, because we
spoilers. Because we
kill Rook.
We do get in there and we kill Rook.
And then this mission happens.
So then there's the mission, but before that, I want to talk about disciples now, because we've touched on a few things.
Fair enough.
With disciples with Un and Savathun kind of being groomed as a future disciple. So here's my thoughts.
Okay, are we going into theory territory? Or do we need to get our spin foil hats on now?
This is some theory territory. This is definitely spin foil time.
Okay. Hang on, let me find where's my tinfoil? All right. Okay, I'm set.
So, if we assume that the witness, well, let me do this first.
Okay.
I'm gonna draw a comparison. Originally, we had said that we had equated kind of like pyramids are like ghosts, and as far as like they both transmit the will of their respective power and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So that I think that might still hold true. And I think maybe the comparison to be made is that we can compare guardians to disciples.
Ooh.
As wielders of the will, using the powers that are received through those conduits, and I'm making an assumption here about the pyramids providing dark power to their disciples. Using that power
if each
to
pyramid
enact the will of
oh
whatever
my
we
god!
got.
If each pyramid has a disciple, if that was Rook's personal Hulk, if that was his personal pyramid ship,
which I think
that means that each pyramid ship has its own disciple.
Or did at one point, or
Holy
will
shit.
at one point. And that's the theory I'm going on here.
That's the comparison, and that follows our comparison of ghosts, right?
Yes.
Like,
yep. So let's assume.
Shit.
Let's assume that this is true, and that each pyramid ship either has its own disciple, had a disciple that has been defeated at some point, or is awaiting a disciple that the witness has already picked out. This then gives us a couple of questions, because there are 3 empty pyramid ships in the Sol system that we know about.
I mean, gives us a lot more than a couple of questions, but okay, I'll follow your couple question logic.
One on Europa, one on Io,
Yep.
and one on the moon.
Yep.
Can we then assume that those are meant, similar to how Callus had his shadows? Maybe Callus was just parroting a system that already existed. Maybe those pyramids are there in our solar system meant for disciples of humanity, the awoken, Mara, and the exo, Clovis.
And that's our show, folks. We are never going another episode again because Myth comes up with a lot cooler fucking theories than I do. I'm taking away your theory crafting privileges.
You can't do that.
Shit.
But if I again, a lot of this is like, I'm just pulling it bare little threads here. This could all be completely wrong, and I wouldn't, it'd be understandable.
So I like the idea of. Okay, so here's where my question. I've got a question about something that I don't know that we've touched on at all. What the hell is the statue then? What the hell is the K1 anomaly? What the hell is clarity? What are those things? Are those disciples or are those dead disciples? Is that shroud that's over them like a remembrance shroud, right? Like honoring the dead?
Maybe that is a piece that I don't know where it fits yet, to be honest. And that is a piece where we could argue that the darkness and the witness may not be, the darkness, the entity, and the witness may not be the same thing.
Shit.
We may have we may have darkness, the entity. If we assume they're separate, we may have the dark, the entity, doing things that the witness does not know about, or is not in line with what the witness is trying to do. An example of that, in my opinion, could be the fact that we get stasis at all.
Sure.
And the leaving of the artifact at the end of Shadowkeep that we then pick up and decipher.
Okay.
Because none of those seem to align with what the witness's goal is. Because in that very short cutscene that we had from the witness, his goal seemed to be like, look, we're ending the game.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're this is it.
We're going to take all your pawns, we're going to take all your rooks, all your bishops, all your knights, we're going to take your queen, all that's left is the king, and you're going to have to fall to us.
Yeah, we're ending the game. We're going after the Traveler's Pale Heart. I don't understand how providing I don't understand how providing the Guardians with stasis would help him accomplish that, unless he was just trying to alienate them from the Traveler, which could totally be the case.
I could see that. Like, I like that theory too. Like, I like the idea of like, how do I infiltrate my enemy? Show my enemy that whatever they're following isn't necessarily the right follow. Like damn it. I'm taking away your theory crafting privileges.
But let's go back a bit to the first theory before we did a theory upon a theory. So I will say theory. The part about this that I am like 99% sure is true is that Mara is a potential disciple.
100%. If this is a thing, like, I mean, she literally created a throne world out of nothing, or a pocket universe out of nothing, and willed it into existence.
So we know she has the power. She has shown she has the tenacity and strength of will to survive insurmountable odds.
We know she's willing to kill people to do it.
We know she's willing to kill people to do it. And we know that the witness has directly communicated with her and shown her visions of her being in his, like, at the time she described it, I think, as like her being under the witness's command, which, as we know now, has the title of disciple.
Shit.
So I think he is absolutely expecting or gearing for Mara to become a disciple, which, if he follows the track record that we saw with the other two disciples, means that he is also expecting the extinction of the Awoken, except for her.
Holy shit.
So that would be one.
Oh god.
That would be one pyramid in our solar system. Could be hers.
Could be the final exo.
The second pyramid that I think we can attribute to someone would be Clovis Bray, because he's an exo now,
ego.
And he's got the ego. He doesn't care about sacrificing people.
God damn your theories. Did the two of you come up with this on your own, or did you come up with this on your own?
I mean, some of this is me. Some of this is just all the various areas of the internet that you pick ideas from different areas and see what sticks when you put them together.
I'm taking away your theory. All right. Okay. So who's humanity then?
Well, that's the thing.
If you say Eris Morn, I'm freaking ending this.
I don't think it's Eris Morn.
Fucking hell, dude. What the? Okay, so who would humanity
however,
be? Amanda Holiday. Ah, shit.
That's totally a possibility. I didn't even think of her. Although I don't think she fits the bill per se. Like she is not going to sacrifice others. She's very self-sacrificing, if anything.
Yeah.
I think she fits the ideals of the light much more.
Yeah.
No, I think if anybody fits the ideals for a third disciple, and it doesn't quite fit for humanity, but maybe it does, is us. The Guardian.
Oh, shit.
We've been pretty fucking ruthless through every Destiny campaign ever. Sure, we're doing it to preserve humanity, but I mean,
oh my God.
Zeta made the deal because she was doing it to preserve the worms. We have shown we are not afraid of using whatever powers are available to us, and it's kind of canon now that we're loot whores. So,
oh my God.
And that would make sense with why we've been gifted things and communicated with and XYZ, because the assumption is in game, even though multiple Guardians are using stasis, there's only one Guardian that's been to the pyramid and has heard the messages of the witness and has had communication, and that Guardian is the player Guardian.
Shit.
So this is
nope. That's it. You've lost your theory crafting privileges, and you are no longer allowed.
I get one more.
No, you've lost your privileges. You can't do it anymore. Loss of privileges means no more. Fuck. All right. What do you got? God damn it.
To further support this, actually, I get two more. So to further support this, the Guardian is called to the Europa Pyramid to defend it from the Cabal that are trying to blow it up.
Fuck.
We are literally defending
our
a
own
pyramid.
God damn it. Damn it.
So some other little tidbits here. This is not.
How do you come up? How do you like? I want your brain. Can I just have your brain like in a little jar next to me, and I'll just like pet it and stroke it and feed it? What is brain food? Is it the same as fish food? Can you just like sprinkle it on top and it just like nom, 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 nom? Like, is that
so funny you should say fish food?
No shit.
So the other little tidbit here, this is very off the wall, but it's a fun coincidence. Bungie has had, whether intentional or not, this habit of every time they introduce a new alien species to us, they give it a ascending number of eyes.
Wait, what?
So what I mean by that, Hive have 3.
Yep.
Fallen have 4.
Yep.
We haven't met anything with 5 yet. But
Rook has
Rook
6.
has 6.
Shit. Maybe the Cabal's
Get-
original thing was supposed to have 5. We're just gonna
No,
go until we get to
Cabal
7,
has
right?
2. Cabal has 2.
We're just gonna
So
go until we
Cabal
get to 7.
until we get to 7. Guess who else has 6 though?
Who?
And the reason why I'm making a deal of this is because they've been very consistent. Every alien race, every single Elixni has 4 eyes. Every single hive has 3 eyes. Every single Cabal has 2. If
Alright,
we
well,
assume maybe
Ahamkara have like 11.
that's true. That's true.
1,
We're
2,
taking
3,
they're
4,
shapeshifters.
5,
They can have whatever the fuck they
6,
want. We're
7,
taking them
8,
out of the
9, 10.
equation.
No, they have 10 because it's an X and a V. So
yeah, we're taking them out of the equation. They can shapeshift and be whatever they want. But no, the only
10.
other thing that has 6 eyes that we have seen in the Destiny universe is Elsie Bray's fish from the trailer.
Fuck. And it does the sine wave movement with its arm. Ah, fuck.
Which begs the question, is Elsie the Exo disciple from her timeline? Or is the fish somehow a disciple and is like working with her?
I'm done with your theories. I'm walking away now.
She was the one.
Nope.
She was the one that walked us towards towards using stasis. So
nope. I'm done with your theories. I refuse your theories. Damn, they're so good though, and they make sense too. Shit. All right.
So this is not a theory. This is a wish. This is purely a wish.
Okay. Now we've moved beyond theories.
We've moved beyond theories to wish magic.
What do you think I am, an Ahamkara?
We're gonna find out.
I'll give you worm magic is what I'll give you.
What I would love to see happen, I do not think it is going to. What I would love to see happen, though, is if the Lightfall code name for that expansion might be the real name, I suppose. We don't know. But if the Lightfall name is not necessarily referring to the Traveler or just the Traveler, but is referring to our player character. And what I would so love on a level that I can't even communicate is if our player character became the disciple of humanity and the next era of Destiny was us on a different character fighting our previous guardian as the new big bad in the universe.
Oh my god. Where do you come up? Do you, like is how much pot
I do not
you
think that's
smoke
going
in
to
a day?
happen. None, actually. Surprising.
Well, shit.
I do not think that's going to happen by any stretch of the imagination. That's some like Final Fantasy 14 shit.
Oh,
going
that's
on there.
absolute. Well, I mean, and if you look at the way this boss encounter went,
I mean, yeah,
we're kind of heading that way, maybe. I don't know.
But so that's my long shot. Like, I would love to see that be the case, and that would be a good way to quote unquote reboot the Destiny franchise after the Light and Dark saga, but still give us a connection to the story that's going on, because like it's you.
Holy shit. What's the worst enemy you could think of? It's you.
And
just look up.
If we are to think that perhaps the Witness and Darkness, the entity, are different things, one of them appeared to us as a mirror of ourself.
Shit.
We don't know which one, if they are different. But yeah, it's a fun idea to toy with. Again, I don't think it's going to happen, but it would be, would be cool. That would be cool.
We've come up with crazier theories, and some of them have been proven to be right.
So the one that we got wrong, which was Callus, was the raid boss. I think Callus is going to show up as another disciple.
I think so
Personally,
too. I think so too.
he has shown his willingness to sacrifice his own people. He
Absolutely.
has shown his tenacity and stubbornness in trying to like consistently call the darkness like a fucking stalker.
He's
And
just sitting in. So now I have this vision of like Callus just laying in bed on his belly, like feet kicked up in the air behind him, with his cell phone in front of him, like, "Hey, was just thinking about you, darkness. Like, you want to come over, man? Like, my parents aren't home. We could kind of like fool around and stuff. And I've got the key to the liquor cabinet too. You want to maybe drink some schnapps and stuff? Like, we could just hang out and stuff." And the darkness
some
is just
royal
looking at his
wine.
phone, like, "What the fuck? Go away.
You have called me 10 times in the last 2 hours. Stop it.
Just stop it. Just fucking." God damn this needy little shit. Yeah, no, that's exactly what's happening.
Yeah, that's
canon
I
now.
I
That's canon
thoroughly
now.
expect that's absolutely canon. I thoroughly expect that when Callus shows up again, he's going to show up as a disciple of the witness.
And then a little nighty with it laying on a bed, with his feet kicked up behind him. "Hey guys, what you doing? Wait, how'd you get here? Welcome to my pyramid. This is awesome. Oh, you're here to kill me. Oh, that's cute. All right, we'll have a little pillow fight. It's fine. It's cool. It's whatever."
Oh.
God damn it.
So yeah.
You come up with some of the coolest fucking theories.
I guess there's two other bits here we haven't covered yet. That's the exotic sparrow and the exotic ghost shell. I'm gonna go over the sparrow really quick because there's one piece in particular I want to touch on with it.
The sparrow one was freaky when I read it, and I'm still trying to fully understand what the hell happened.
Sparrow one is freaky. This is my interpretation of it. Paraphrased and pulling some information from people smarter than me on the internet.
Imagine. So take a second to absorb that knowledge, folks. Myth, the guy coming up with some of the coolest theories that I've ever heard of, is admitting that there are people smarter than him on the internet.
I never claimed otherwise.
So that means that there are people coming up with even cooler theories than his.
I'm sure there are, yeah.
Well, fuck, quite, goddamn it. Sparrow time. Guy racing across Mars.
Sparrow. Yep. So, I don't know that he's a guardian because I don't know that they ever mention a ghost.
Yeah, I don't think the ghost is mentioned.
But it is a courier of sorts, carrying cargo, in and out of the throne world.
Mm-hmm.
And his name is Marco. Unfortunately for Marco, he crashes his sparrow, and the contents of the packages he was shipping out of the throne world start to react to him being gravely wounded in this crash.
Punctured lung, leg ripped off, and yeah,
not in a good way.
He's dying. He's dead. There's no way.
And these black vines start to come out of this cargo and kind of latch on and infect his body, and they're beginning to mend his wounds. But the entire time that they're doing this, these vines are also flooding his mind, flooding his brain with whispers and temptations. And we're not sure where those whispers are coming from per se. We could argue that they're coming from the witness because he seems to be the main manipulator for everything.
He does like a good set of whispers.
And maybe this was a way of trying to get like somebody under his control on the inside, close to the Vanguard kind of thing. Now that Savathun is off the table.
No longer Osusrus.
No longer Osusrus, yeah. and like it's aggressive about this,
Yeah.
and Marco is very quickly beginning to like lose his mind to all these like it's described as like a feeling of euphoria, um as he's being healed and reformed, and like he's very close to just giving himself over to these tempting whispers.
And pain,
uh
unending pain at the same time. Like,
yeah, like it's not good. It's not all good and it's not all bad. It's like this
yeah,
weird fluxing between. And I think maybe some of that is him like still trying to wrestle control of himself.
yeah. Oh, absolutely. Well, because of the last sentence of it, right?
Right, which I actually don't have written down. So do you have it in front of you?
Yeah, give me 1 second. Let me switch over to this one. And so basically, to set the scene, like he crashes, and this thing is, it's starting to. It talks about it like his leg like pops up on its own and like starts reattaching itself.
Yeah.
Like
Like it's wild.
it's freaky. That's where I'm saying like the writing that's going on here it's next level shit, man. Like it's freaky. But yeah, he so he's laying there in the sand. This stuff is taking over him, and he pulls out his pistol. And let me find the Sparrow real quick. Sparrow, where are you? This one is called what was the Sparrow? Gouging Light, right? Yes.
I think so, yeah.
Scroll down. God, this is a long one. He dragged his sidearm from his holster, gasping as he took careful aim at the cracked reactor shielding the reactor of his Sparrow. His mind tore free, and in an unbearable brief eternity, he gulped one final breath. What remained of Marco squeezed the trigger. Yeah, and this whole time, this thing is deep, still, safe embrace, so soft and still, lie still, worlds burned free, sweet still ash. This shit is just whispering to him over and over, like, what the fuck? Yeah.
So as crazy as this whole thing is, what I want to focus on is actually these black vines.
Yeah.
Because we see them in the raid.
Mm-hmm.
We see them actually on two characters in particular. Rolk himself, when you kill him, he turns into a tree of black vines.
This like explosion.
Yeah, like explodes out from his chest essentially.
And his chest looks like it has like a gaping hole in it too. Like it's really freaky.
Like something exploded out of it.
Yeah.
And the other character in the raid that has these vines is the Scorn Caretaker.
The Caretaker.
The vines are in the like backpack that it's carrying that you have to shoot to stun it.
And when he dies, those vines are there. Like they erupt out of him. Like so whatever the fuck these vines things are, I don't know what the fuck that's about.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what these vines do or what they symbolize. Perhaps it's how the witness gives power.
It could be
its disciples. I
think part of it is like a commanding
underlings.
thing too. And the only reason I have anywhere to pull that from is the final lore book of Shattered Suns. I don't want to go into it super deep because we're definitely going to dive into this one, but it talks about Rulk being like the very end of it is Rulk is like emerging from this blackened solution that engulfed him all the time or something like that. Like he emerges from this wall of obsidian like miasma, and that would very much describe that. And so I don't know what that is. I don't know if that's like but throughout the entire books of the Shattered Sun, he is reliving his past, how he became to be where he is now, and his Librea's ruin staff or his glaive and yeah.
Now, obsidian wall of miasma, similar to the one the witness steps through at the end of the campaign.
Boom.
Is that kind of what we're thinking?
That's what I'm thinking.
Okay.
Boom.
I can get behind that.
Which would then mean that the witness isn't the darkness, that the witness is just playing the same game.
Maybe. I mean, we don't know why
Possibly,
he
right?
was
Like
in there or what the purpose of it is, but
right.
yeah.
We don't know if it's a healing chamber, if it's a mind-altering chamber, like whatever the fuck
if
it
it's
is.
a control chamber, like you have to be in there to control what else, the fleet or something. Yeah.
Don't know.
There could be a lot of things, but the other thing that I thought was interesting is that these vines seem to have a healing property.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which makes me wonder, like, did we actually kill Rolk and the caretaker, or are they gonna knit themselves back together with these vines?
I mean, they've got to, right? Like, we've got to have somewhere to get loot from every Tuesday.
Oh yeah, maybe the raid become similar to Fickrel. There's a canon reason why we have to keep going back to the raid over and over.
The raid is just healing itself over time. Every Tuesday it just heals itself. Sure, that's canon. That works because video game.
That works.
For some vexed reason, fuck, I don't know why.
The other piece I wanted to touch on is the exotic ghost shell.
Yes.
From the raid. This one is not as expansive as the others, but it has
super
possibly the most important information in it. So to summarize,
because that one's the transmission, right? Like it's a talk between a ghost and Rook.
Yes. So Rook comes across what we could say is very stupid ghost.
Yup.
Which for some reason does not realize who or what it is talking to.
He's just a ghost. He doesn't fucking know anything.
I mean, kinda, yeah. And this is one of the most mind-blowing lore cards for me personally.
Oh, absolutely.
Because all of our preconceptions and all of the supporting evidence we've had, even in the collector's edition for Witch Queen, has been that like ghosts have their own personality, ghosts ruminate on their own like purpose in life and their own interpretations of their mission and what they should be looking for. Like ghosts very much are as in the dark about some of the travelers' wants as we are to some degree. But in this lore card, Rook is talking to this poor little ghost, and is kind of playing coy with the ghost, and is trying to get it to come with him.
Yeah.
Presumably to capture it and dissect it and do all the scary things that he would do to a ghost. Which on the other, how as a ghost would you come across Rook and be like, no, I'm going to talk to that guy?
Yeah, he might be my savior. I mean, you've been searching for your guardian for years. Like maybe Rook's your guardian. You don't fucking know. You're just a ghost.
Yeah. I mean, he's not dead, so that kind of disqualifies him from guardianship. But
right.
But yeah. So
or at least
regardless,
we don't think he's dead.
So regardless, Rook's trying to get this little ghost to come with him to do terrible things. And that is when we get something kind of amazing.
Fucking freaky.
The traveler speaks through the ghost.
Yeah.
And tells Rook essentially to fuck off.
Yeah.
And to get away from its ghost, and that its gift is not meant for his kind. And then it blows up in his face.
here's the lines. Like he's literally trying to like tap into it, and he's like, "What is going on here?" And this little ghost is like, "Hi, hello, yeah, I've seen other things. I don't know if I'm supposed to be here, or whatever. Oh, you're confused. You don't know what you're talking about." And then like the last couple lines is like, "Oh yeah, I think I'm looking for a partner." And then Rook's like, "Leviathan under glass, but with it perhaps a fraction topples the whole. Crack a faucet, crack the face, or crack a faucet like not like a faucet, like a spigot, like a part of a hole, a sliver of light within." And the ghost says, "Ah, yes, there it is. I meant to share it with somebody worthy." And Rook says, "Rejoice, I have worth beyond worth." And then in all caps, disciple of the dark. Rook, adversary? Ghost, this one is not for you. Rook, too bright! And it literally blows up. Nothing but scrap. They refuse to let their secrets be taken, only given. And then he says, poach another curious fruit from the witch's collection. They cannot, as a race, all deny our worth.
So there's some very big implications here. This confirms a couple things to me. This confirms that the Traveler is aware of what the ghosts are doing.
100%.
Potentially at any and all times.
But not vice versa.
But not vice versa. The Traveler can influence the ghosts if it wants to.
And blow it up.
Control them in some way.
Mini nuke it.
The Traveler has opinions on who can have its gifts.
It cannot be taken. It can only be given. Holy shit.
And the Traveler does dictate who is or is not allowed to have those gifts.
Kind of like how the Witness determines who gets the pyramid chips.
I think maybe.
I'm starting to be of the belief now that the Winnower and the Gardener are not the Traveler and the Witness.
I'm kind of on that as well.
I'm still on the fence about it, but I'm thinking that battle is still going on way above our heads. And we, like, the Witness is literally like the number 2, and the Traveler is like the number 2 for his side. And yeah. Or whatever lies inside the Traveler, right? Like the pale heart.
Right. Yeah, and
shit.
that's I'm kind of leaning that direction as well. Like I said, they could come out and say, "No, the Traveler is the Gardener, the Witness is the Winnower," and like I wouldn't be upset by that. But
I'd be kind of amazed. Like that'd be a genuine, like, okay,
it would be cool. Right. But there are just little things here and there, little inconsistencies, little hints that really makes it seem like that might not be the case. Like there might be a Gardener and a Winnower of a higher echelon than anything we have seen so far.
Holy shit. Well,
on that note, I think
bye.
That is maybe where we end for tonight. Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Okay, well, yeah. Well, speaking of Gardener and Winnower, I think next week we're going to start our series on that.
On the unveiling books.
On the unveiling books, I really think we need to dive into those, and see where that road takes us. There's obviously still a few more things coming out of Witch Queen, and even the seasonal content. I think the seasonal stuff might actually deal with Callus a little bit more, rather than the entire Witch Queen expansion.
It definitely deals with Callus a little bit. I say the Vox Obscura mission actually directly references Callus and some of the things he's doing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the seasonal content really, really good. Not necessarily in the like the thing we're thwarting, because
it's kind of like a story within a story, right? Like it's like,
yeah,
the light and dark is like the big overarching story, and like the Keitel thing is like this is just so happened to be happening at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. It's Keitel and Saladin and Crow and Zavala are all working to try to put a stop to the Lucent Brood's control outside of Savathun's throne world, and figure out what their plan is. And that's kind of happening alongside everything else. It's a military operation within the war kind of thing.
Absolutely.
And although the things you're doing in those missions are not particularly insightful, like you're tracking down Lucent Hive and kidnapping them and then
hooking them up to a brain machine and keeping them in a suspended state where Crow's like, do they hurt? And Saladin's like, who the fuck cares? And you're just like, what?
So
Morality has taught us that this might be a bad thing. And, maybe don't subjugate an entire race of people and hook them up to machines and read their brains.
So
Whatever.
I think there's a lot of really cool stuff happening in the seasonal content. Like I said, not the content we're actually doing, not the like, hey, go chase this baddie, but the content that's happening between characters that are in this operation.
100%.
I mean, agree with him or not, I think Saladin has a very powerful line of dialogue from last week. The mercy for what is it? Mercy for a thing. Mercy for someone cannot supersede mercy for their victims.
Yeah.
Something along those lines. I'd have to look up the exact line, but
I remember what you're talking about. Yeah.
They're hitting hard.
They
with
are.
Saladin and kind of him and Crow kind of learning from each other a little bit, hopefully.
Yeah.
And then also just like some of the shit Saladin has been through.
The whole thing with the kid where oh yeah, you're a cute little kid. I see what you're getting at. Okay, I'll spare you. And then like years later, the kid's grown up and now she's the leader of the tribe. Like, fuck you. And he's like, nah, fuck you back. Kill them all. Yeah, he's seen some shit. All right. Well, I guess with that, I'll start
unveiling next, I think.
I'll start our thank yous then. So yeah, thank you, Lin-Manuel, for coming up with Moana and Hamilton and and Encanto and I can't remember the name of the one on Netflix. God, it's with the little monkey, and he's trying to find his grandpa or something. I don't remember. That one's got a lot of good musical stuff in it too. But yeah, thanks, buddy. You're the best.
For anyone that hadn't gathered already, Zor is a musical fan.
I do love me a good musical, especially like one that gets stuck in your head or trapped in there, right? Like in Canto, right? Like that, or Hamilton, or Moana, or the one that I can't remember now. So yeah, that's my thank you tonight. I don't know what to think of Rourke and the Witness and all this shit anymore. Like brain got melted reading all this stuff today. Myth, you got any thank yous?
Say just thank you to everyone that's out there still listening to our crazy talk. If anyone wants to reach out to share some thoughts or feelings on our crazy theories,
No.
and say you can get in touch with me via Twitter at Mythborn, or we do now have a Twitter account dedicated to just the podcast, which is at Myths and Stories with a Z.
Boom.
So you can get leave a leave a comment there or something.
Comment.
Oh yeah, I will.
You be an asshole. I'm gonna ban some motherfuckers up in this bitch. I swear to God, I can't deal with that shit mentally. So if you're gonna be an ass about something, you can fuck right off. Putting that out there right now. Putting my foot down.
We're totally cool with constructive discussions, even if it's of a dissenting opinion. Totally cool to talk theories and
just bounce do it nicely.
Ideas off each other.
Don't just like come at somebody like, hey, you fucking fuck. That's not how you interact with people in real life. Like, would you go at the grocery? I mean, some of you would probably go at the grocery store like that, but that's not the point. The point is we're trying to create a nice space for people to discuss ideas and let ideas flourish. Like, don't be negative about it. Don't be an ass about it.
So yeah. And say I'm also going to be posting episode reminders and stuff there about when episodes are uploaded and go live and whatnot.
That
So
is
if you are looking for an area to just get updates, if nothing else, that's a spot you can check as well.
that was the other thing I was going to put at the end of this one too. We do apologize for being a day late on this. That raid really kicked our ass, and we really wanted to get through it so we could have a
Yeah.
lot more lore implications of what the raid was and have a little bit better understanding of what the hell we were doing in there.
Yep.
So,
But I think that's all I got.
alrighty. Well then, yeah, that's all I got then. And as always, thank you, Myth, for being here and walking us through these crazy theories of yours and putting all this information together. And of course, thank you to our raid team for getting us through this weekend with our sanity
Yes.
still intact.
Mostly.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, then, from all of us lore nerds to all of you guardians out there, we'll see you next week.